So becoming product-led. Some of you have been here repeatedly and listening to Johanna Belfrage and Anders Torssell, and also myself talking about the principles and how to get there. And I think it's important that we do that from different perspectives and different experiences, because there are no cookbook solutions. So you need to find the pattern and find the pattern recognition. And that's what we're going to do today, talking about that. And I will circle the topic a bit about some of the principles, but I'm going to get into the details of what we're doing here and metrics. So at the end, there will be more and more detailed slides as we go. And I've been working 25 years in the tech industry. I've been working at big corporations, startups, scale-ups, B2C, B2B. I've been working with hardware, fashion tech, games, music, licensing, everything, health tech. And I see the same patterns across this and structures. And when I was working at Oracle, I don't think Oracle is known as the most agile, not from with it outside. But we were so agile when working there and innovative when we were. And I've been working at startups where everyone sees that, well, it's an agile startup. Well, I've seen startups being so rigid and really tied up. So many organizations I talk to, they say, well, we're different and we're not Spotify, so we can't do this. Hi, welcome. Or it's so complex, or we are hardware, or we're regulated, so we can't become product-led. Well, I've been working at Spotify as well, and they also have their issues. So we can do this. Everyone can do this. We just have to find out how. And that's why we need to share our experiences and learn from each other, and also dare to try. And Mia was referring to my company name. So I have my own company name. It's only me. And I named it Be Afraid and Do It Anyway. Because I've been talking to so many managers that have been reporting to me about assuming new responsibility. And it's a quote from Carrie Fisher. Does everyone know what movie she starred in? It's Star Wars. She's Princess Leia. And she engaged in mental health a lot during her career and life. And there's a famous quote by her that I've been referring to, saying, stay afraid and do it anyway. What's important is the action, and confidence will follow. So I'm trying to get people to find their next step and understand where to go and take those steps and dare to try it. So we're going to start by a small breakout to get you on your toes with this. And I think that many of you have tried change management, or tried you've been in growing organizations, or things have changed during your career, and you've been planning things and then communicating to the organization, and things have not gone the way that you wished for. I think everyone here has experienced that. So let's take 3 minutes and talk about what was the reason why this change management that you tried, why it failed, or why it wasn't the thing that you it didn't end up where you wanted it to. And if you've never experienced it, please listen and just talk to each other. So you get 3 minutes to just talk to a neighbor and discuss this question.
Okay. Nej, alltså jag men vet du vad?
Okay. Let's see. So let's see. What did you talk about? What are some examples of why change management fails?
I mean, I could probably give a maybe a real example. Someone in the company is assigned to be the change manager, and all changes go through that person. That person isn't available 24 hours a day. So change management was very slow and dependent on one human being. Didn't work.
And what was that person's role? What did they do? What were they assigned to?
It was something like change manager or service delivery change manager.
Okay. Yeah.
Really long. Really nice person. But
no doubt. Yeah, Mission Impossible. No, thank you. Anything else?
It's really hard to change if no one really feel a need for change. Like everything's working fine, why should we change?
So motivation for change. Yeah, I don't understand it.
Understanding it.
Yeah. Anything else?
I think many times with change management, many people see the solution, but they don't really see the problem. Skip directly to solution while you should understand what is the problem, and from the problem, what is the best way of applying this so you have buy-in throughout the organization. But many times it's like that change management person or whatever, it's implementing something that is a solution, and people don't see the problem, or they don't see that that is the best solution.
No, I believe that as well. So you sell a solution that someone has felt that this will be successful, and people are like, why do we need this? Why do we need it? And what's the rationale? Anything else? Yeah.
Depending on the scope of change, sometimes you need the leadership support, and if the leadership set up change and they don't, believe, changing change, they don't believe in the change, things can go back to a different way.
Like the C-level suite kind of don't support the change that other people see is needed. Yeah. No, I've seen that as well. Yeah, someone here. Yeah.
Too big of a scope for the change, and it's not knocked down into the comprehensive part of the people that are going to do the change.
Yeah. So you haven't. It's like a big bang thing, and people like it's too much. Yeah.
And a lot of times we put the structure in place, and the top level of the changes, and then you say, so now just go. And the people supposed to do the change, they don't know how to do it actually, because they've never been in the discussion, and then they get expected to solve everything.
Yeah. Like a PowerPoint,
yeah, exactly.
Like copy paste, and now we're going to implement the Spotify model, and you go. No, go for them. Maria.
I think one major reason why it fails is that you don't change what you were in the problem, the KPIs that are in place, which contradict each other, and also the finance, who has the money.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't change those two parameters, you're going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, you need finance. Interesting. Thank you for priming your minds on this. Definitely. So say that you are change leaders. You want to take your organization towards product-led. I think one thing is kind of picture yourself, kind of what kind of leader do you want to be, or what kind of leader do you want to have during this across the organization. And my leadership style and my role model for leaders are scout leaders. I'm brought up in the scout movement, and kind of working in small teams, going through the woods, or creating large scout camps that I've done, like large jamborees with 40,000 participants. You have this really grounded scout leader who takes you through the woods, always having a bar of chocolate to pull out when it's too tough, who really who knows all the tools, know the kind of the map and the compass, who make you part of a group and make you see the purpose of this. Gathering the group by the fire during the evening, pointing out what we achieved during the day. Kind of looking at each of the individuals and the teams and letting us try on our own, not learning by failing. So it's never too much, but we are pushing our boundaries all the time. So that is the leader that I want to be, kind of where we're laughing, so like tears coming out of our eyes together about the mistakes we did in the evening and so on, having this closeness of feeling, knowing that kind of setting out to do something that none of us have accomplished before, making her push our boundaries, but it's always kind of just one small step out of our comfort zone and not too much. So that's what I have in my head regarding leadership. So we're talking about change and we're talking about transformation. And I regard these as different things when we talk about transformation leadership. When you're doing towards product-led, and where we're talking about these big bang things, and sometimes we need to do big bangs. And transformation is that, when we can't incrementally change yourself out of a situation. Each team can kind of take small steps and then suddenly we're in product-led, because this organization is project-led, it's waterfall, it's kind of control mechanisms, lack of trust, so many things that is outside the mandate of each team. So we can't ask the teams to incrementally change the organization into product-led. We need to do something at the same time. We need to change a lot. Maybe we need that budgeting or economics and so on that is outside the reach for each team. And this is when I talk about a transformation. And a transformation for me is also, it's a bit slow, but kind of you're doing a major change and you're reaching some effect. And then when you reach it, it often plateaus up here. And how do you see if kind of maybe we can incremental change ourselves out of this, or maybe it's a transformation? And my first tip is to work beside the coffee machine as leaders and kind of listen to the talking to the people, because that's where you hear the reactions of what you talked about during that town hall meeting. And even if, like, now we're going to implement this and we're going to do all these changes, and people like, okay. But then at the coffee machine, that's where you're going to hear the reactions. And when people say, this can't be done, it's like, nice slides, but it won't work. And this is when people, like in an informal setting, trying the talk to their colleagues, why it worked and kind of the fear and so on. And this is the discussion you want to have. And you probably won't have it in a big town hall meeting, because people don't know what to ask for. People don't know where to, and kind of maybe they don't want to be that negative person. And like, it's too big to grasp. How could this ever happen? So you need to get hooks into what is the fear that people see in this, and why is it impossible? So tip number 1, work by the coffee machine, drink a lot of coffee. And then as leaders, and I've been painting this scout leader, that perfect role. I also kind of during this presentation, I want you to be kind to yourselves, because I see kind of towards product-led, you will need to do, and the company will need to do several different transformations. And this transformation is maybe taking it from project-led to product-led or cross-functional teams. And that's a huge thing in an organization. You can't do it all at once. And it's very different leadership that is needed in these transformations. And sometimes you need to be the expert. You need to have tried it before to get the confidence and to get the trust from people. And kind of the expectations of one person to be able to lead through all of these. It's like, so don't put it on yourself too much to be able to push through all that. It's a team effort of leadership. And maybe you need to pull in some consultants, maybe you need to find solutions within the organization. But as CTO or VP engineering or product, it's a lot to do this. So getting people here and getting what people think when you present change management to them. And when we're talking about what made it fail, it's when kind of it's too big of a problem, this thing. It can be hard to see why we need it, and it can be hard to see how we can implement the full thing. And people can resist the change for different reasons. So some of the people will immediately get it, and they are curious, and they want to try something new, and they see the problem, and they want to do it. Other people don't get it. So why, or don't want to. So it can be that they don't understand it, and then you need to change your communication. You can't parrot the same thing. You need to try a different rationale, and then they understand it, and then they go on. Other people, they get what you're saying, but they don't agree with it. So then you need to kind of find what problems do they see, and how can you solve their problems? And then the fourth category is they get it, but they don't want to. Or they don't trust you, and kind of they simply don't want to. And I want you to remember that this group exists, but it's probably a lot smaller than you think, because people want to have things becoming better, but maybe they don't understand, and maybe they don't see, they just see the solution and nothing. So I've read this book, and I don't think that this is the first book you need to read, but just this model has helped me put a structure to how to get people and how to find people. So here, and the problem of this. So here in the beginning, we have the enthusiast, and this is how technology is adapted. So if we have anything here, we have a bell curve. We have the curious people who kind of just want to try something new. And then we have the visionaries who see the benefits for what they want to achieve. And then we have the pragmatists, and they will adopt it if they see that it works. So when you need to kind of get all of these, and when you have found the pragmatists and gotten them on your side, you have the majority. And then people here will see, well, I will probably lose out if I don't join this, so that you can get those. And then the skeptics, and are like, okay, everyone else on board, it's a kind of just do it. So the chasm, or kind of the wide gap, the hardest thing to do here, where technology adoptions or change management fails, is when trying to get through the pragmatists. So this is what you need to do. This is the chasm that you need to cross. And that's why you need the structure of this, because you need to pair it, you need to push through. It's a long process of change management to do this. So you need to give them proof, and you don't know all the steps in advance that you need to do. So you need to collect proof. You need to collect small wins to win them over. So get some help in the organization. Identify informal change leaders that can help you. Get that first follower that will, because you won't always be at the coffee machine. You won't always be at the corridor. So you can find people who are and who are in this group. And my second tip or kind of experience on what I'm doing and what is a lot of fun is study circles. And I do them whenever I come to a new transformation assignment. And I ask people to, because it's like a huge commitment to read a full book. I understand that not all people do it. So I give them video presentations or articles of the thought leaders like Marty Kagan and Stephen Covey and Don Reinertsen and everything. Like a 1 hour read or 1 hour video, and they can do it on double speed. Then it's only 30 minutes. So they can watch it on during their commute. And I send it out to the full organization. And then I gather them and say, like, it will be 1 hour workshop. And I do a small summary of the most important concepts that I think is important that they know, and then break them out in breakouts, asking them to discuss what was noteworthy. Is there anything that we can apply to what we're doing here? And in this 2 hour thing, you get a lot of things. You get 3 things. First of all, you anchor some important principles that people can latch on to. Well, it's tried by someone else. And you get to hear how people present the problems that are on their hand. So, and as we said, if people don't buy into why we're doing a change, they won't accept the solution. So you need to find the problems that want to be solved in the organization and then apply a solution to it. And then so you can start trying with these people, like, okay, so I hear a lot about this. Is this a problem that you want to be solved? Yes, this is the most important thing. Well, then you have like a golden nugget. And also, the third thing is that you will find your first followers here, the change leaders, the ambassadors in the organization, the people who are able to take and want to take principles and apply them to solve a problem and have the ability to have a model and apply it to something real here. And that is the, I think, the essence of change management. So gathering these things. Any reflection on this study circle or anything else?
Question.
Yeah.
Because you said that you do this with the part of the org that you're changing, but sometimes the entire org needs to change.
Yeah.
So that could be that you have one part of the organization where you have anchored some principle where you start like understanding the question, but they are like isolated from the rest.
Yeah.
And sometimes the company is just too big.
Yeah.
You cannot get 2,000 people to one room, 1 hour.
No.
How do you handle this kind of situation?
So I try to limit the scope of where I start change, and I try to send it out to a wide with the product development organization, the full product development organization, and the biggest organization I've been to have been 300 people in the product development organization, and I think we need to have a scope, but I also work kind of 300 people. You can't get that into a room either, but kind of embracing that whole, and that is data scientists, IT specialists, developers, designers, product people, and those can also be very siloed in there. But I invite everyone, and then having these maybe in 2 parallel sessions with 20 people each, kind of who shows up in this. Okay, so study circles, trying to get the ambassadors and finding the principles and finding the solution that wants, or kind of the base of the problem that wants to be solved. I also want to prepare the organization for change. And I tell them that change is the only constant right now. And I'm a DevOps girl. I work a lot with DevOps, and what we say there, and kind of from 15 years ago, was that if it hurts, do it often. Because they said, like, we can only do releases 4 times a year or 2 times a year because it's so cumbersome. Like, okay, so let's do it often, because then we will have a strive to actually make it so lightweight that it's possible, and then we'll start to automate, because you don't want when it hurts. So give the tooling for change to the organization. Get the EMs and PMs and like, okay, so we need to do some change here, and how can we do it and why, and teach them, give them the tooling for this. And to do that, also, you need a change narrative, because you need to explain this to everyone in the organization or to these change leaders. And a narrative, for me, is a story that you can relay when you're in the corridor or in the elevator. You need to find kind of, okay, so we have this problem and we're going to try the solution so that we will reach something else. And you need to be able to explain that in your own words. You need to be able to stand at a whiteboard and explain this over and over again to different people and try and change words in that narrative, but a story, because you can't have detailed and 50 slides and this and this. You need to find the bigger picture so people can see where are we now in this change narrative and are we trying something else. And this quote, it might sound like something too simple or too trivial, that you can't have direction without a goal. But I've been to companies where they've started change management and can't say what the goal is or how you know when you reached it. So you need to define that in some way. And you need to define it because you need to get everyone to see the difference between the principles and the method. You will change directions in your and try different things. If you want to go here to the objective and the target, everything, we want the most efficient organization. These things are different methods that you will try. You will never get the right organization set up on the first go. You will need to get people to understand that we will try something. If it's good enough, we will work on that and iterate and tweak towards our goal. And do you remember the skeptics of here? You will have them for a long time in this change management journey. And if they kind of during this map, kind of when you change, you will need to get them to understand that you're still on the same journey. You're just trying and tweaking and trying different methods. So you need to see what are the principles that we are trying to achieve and what is the goal of this. So differ between principles and methods, and we're going to get some of those examples. So let's start with a gap analysis, and then you need to know where you're going. I say that product-led, if you're truly product-led as an organization, you're playing a quick game of better or broken. This is my metaphor. So this is ping pong player, and he wants to get the ball over to the other side, to the end user. And this is some kind of feature or something that they're trying. And he wants to get it back as soon as possible to see, did I do anything better? And did I break anything kind of when I did this? And this ping pong game, you can't kind of do it 4 times a year and then getting feedback 3 months later. This is a ping pong game that is quick. So this is what we want to achieve with the product-led organization, to be able to play a quick game of better or broken. So we have 3 questions. So now we're getting into the methodology of change management towards product-led. And some of you will like, I'm going to present 8 metrics that I'm using, some of the methods, and also 3 questions. So if you ask yourself, how quickly can we test a new idea? How quickly can we imagine it and then try it and kind of evaluate it? Is it worthwhile? Yes, let's test it, build it, and send it out. How quickly? What is the lead time for that? First question. The second question is, did we make it better? What does better look like? What is better? And that's not obvious for everyone. What are we trying to do to achieve, to increase revenue? Do we need more users, new markets, less churn? Kind of what are we trying right now? What is our strategy that we want to optimize? And the third question is, did we break anything? And this is also a question that is lost in some organizations, because you have an infrastructure group or an operations team like, well, I don't know if it's broken. Well, this is what I call production awareness. As a developer, you need to also know how does your code live in production, and kind of what's the health of your code in production as well. You need to know that. So these are the three overarching questions. So let's start with, you need to have, I have two objectives as a CTO or product development director or so. I need to have these two objectives really clear to me. So the company objective is the first thing. And then, yeah, that's the first thing. We need to be able to understand what we're here to do. And some of you will recognize the metaphor of asking a person, what are you building? So I'm just putting bricks here, I'm building a wall. Or the person who says, I'm building a cathedral, I'm part of something that will be here for hundreds of years. So the difference of that, and I believe that if your employees and people at your companies come to work and knowing how the work you're doing today ladders up to the main purpose of that company, I think you're much happier and take accountability and kind of feel pride in doing that day's work. So we need to make this simple. And Stephen Bungay is a person who teaches how to do strategies. He's read-worthy. And he says, what can't be made simple can't be made clear. So if your company strategy is too detailed and kind of hidden, or kind of it's 800 pages or something, there's a risk that people don't understand how the work that they are doing is laddering up to the purpose. So let's make sure to not get stuck in details. And even if it might be important to sort through paperclip, I want you to be able to relay what we're doing in ballpark figures. And ballpark figures to me is like t-shirt sizing, small, medium, or large. Like, are we talking about can we solve it within one sprint? Like a small thing. Or is it large? This will require several teams and it will probably be a year. And this kind of, I always think in numbers of threes. So if we do, you can do like this as well. How cumbersome will it be to do this? Well, this is in one sprint and this is in 1 year. And you need to have that narrative when you explain the company purpose and ballpark figures, like it's our sales, the sales efficiency is 4x or 10x. Our EBITDA is right now -4%. Our lifetime value is 30 million. The cost of our production or product development organization is 100 million per year. A couple of these, and maybe 7 of the main KPIs, you need to relay them to your developers so that they know them, so that they can put into relationship. They don't need to have all the details, but you need to figure out what are the most important things. And I remember when I was working at King 10 years ago, I still remember some of the key numbers. I knew that we it was a freemium model, like now as well. We had 90% of our gamers, Candy Crush gamers and so on, didn't pay. Used it for free. 10% paid up. And they had a monthly average of $15. And that's where we wanted it to be. Kind of $15 is like a cinema ticket or something. And that's that's sane, not too much and so on. And we had 500 million monthly active users. So it still was a lot of profit for the company. And kind of all of those, and I also remember, I don't remember the numbers, but what we measured. Okay, so it's the retention. We want to try to increase the retention of these, and we want to. I knew these numbers, and everyone knew them, but that has been the only company where that has been spread. So I think trying to get that business narrative into your heads so that you can relay it, so that you can stand it. Like, remember this. This is what we're trying to, and you need to find that. So how do we do that? This is a structure that I use when I come into companies. I need to be able to explain the purpose of the company in society. Why are we here? What do I think will be better in society because our company is here? Make friends, not war. And this is actually the company that the finance company that I was at this fall. And then a vision. What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to do? And a mission and vision is often confused. And I see the mission is something that you actually can achieve, a measurable target of some kind. Double the global usage of something could be a mission. And then the most important thing that is often lacking is what is the most immediate company strategy for this year, a 1-year thing. Reach positive EBITDA for Q3, maybe, for a company. Because that's tangible and that gives some sense of urgency if that's needed, and you know what you want to optimize for. So when you have this red thread of kind of society and the company mission and vision and so on, you can derive the strategy from this. So the product strategy for this year is maybe to reach a new customer segment or reach a new market or something. And then the tech strategy is derived from that. How do we kind of, if we're looking at the horizon a couple of years ahead, do we have everything we need in the tech? Can we achieve this? So the tech strategy is derived from the product strategy that is derived from the company strategy. But I say that you also need to be aware of the sales strategy or other department strategies, because maybe at tech you need to help them as well. And maybe there's something that you quickly can implement for them to reach. So you need to understand their main challenges. So I would say that you need to make this narrative and you need to prepare to present it during 60 seconds for someone riding an elevator. Like, this is make friends, not war, and then the mission and vision. And often at companies, this is not simplified in this way. And I say that you need to do that because you have some mental model of what you're here to do. What do you tell your relatives when you meet them for Christmas? What do you do? So your grandma asks you, what do you do except this computer thing? So what do you tell her? What is the narrative that comes out of your mouth? And that's probably not the same thing as coming out of the chief strategist's mouth, but it's a mental model and it works. And that is the thing that you need to relay. You probably want to do something that is validated or somewhat correct. And I'm thinking about this metaphor. If you don't have it, kind of create it. So when I was a developer and we used Stack Overflow kind of when developing my I don't think that the kids do that. Now they chat GPT. And the quickest, does anyone know the quickest way to get help on Stack Overflow? Does anyone remember this tactics?
Post the wrong answer.
Yes, post the wrong answer. So you push your question, and then you log into a fake account, and then you put the wrong answer in that thread, and then you've got the whole internet trying to kind of say, no, that's wrong, trying to. So I would say when you do this, you don't have to worry too much about it being wrong, because when you start talking about it, if it's wrong enough, like people will correct you, but they will hopefully say, well, with a few exceptions, this is a valid story. And do this because it's needed in so much. And we're talking about, the chief strategist, they're like, but I'm just a cogwheel down here. But that's not the way organizations should work. Organizations should work like a flock of birds. They don't have a leader that is like, okay, everyone, move in this direction. The flock of birds, when an animal comes and try to eat them, they will all move away. And you can't say exactly what signals made everyone move, but they will move. And that is how an organization should work right now. So you need to be aware of this, because you're one of those birds, and you need to know if you can optimize or move away from some threat or so on, and it's your responsibility. Okay, so this is kind of the company objective. the second thing that you need to be aware of is the product development organization objective. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning, that people they start change, but there's no goal. So what is the direction? How do we know if we become better? So you need to define for yourself, what is better in our organization? How do we want to have that, and how can we make it measurable? So this is the generic definition that I have been using, and kind of changing some of the terminology a bit, but this. So I think a successful product-led organization is scalable, it's innovative, very customer-centric, and we know what value looks like, where people come happy to work, where people develop and thrive and help each other and ask for help. That's all. You need to be happy to dare to ask for help. So I think this is good enough. What do you think about this? Is anything missing from this kind of success metrics?
Purpose.
Yeah, purpose. So I try to simplify everything, and I think purpose is one of the most important thing, and that I bake that into innovative. And sometimes I spell it out, and sometimes I spell out things like customer focused, because if there's not a customer focus from the beginning, I need to spell it out, and purposeful. And kind of this is the most pure form of this, and I put it here, and I'm adamant to kind of make sure that that company objective is in here.
What do you mean with scalable?
So with scalable, I'm talking about that we can add people and we get more value out of the organization. It's not always the truth. Sometimes you add people and things get slower because you need to explain things to them, and you have more meetings, and suddenly you're stuck in a grid because the change control board meetings become so large, and then everything slows down instead. So that's not scalable, I would say. So two things here. We need to be able to add more people and become more efficient and deliver more value. That's one scalable thing. And also product-wise, that we can add more users and things don't slow down. And sometimes adding more users make the production system break down, or it becomes too expensive, and that's not scalable. So scalable in many different meanings and dimensions here. Anything else on this definition?
Innovative
Mm.
covers the customer focus.
Yeah.
But also we should cover the business focus.
Yeah.
And bring
Yes.
value to the business.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yes, so I put that in innovative, and it's a very good question, because when people started reading Eric Ries's book, Lean Startup, there was a lot of thing about the end user and doing that, and less about the business as well. And that Teresa Torres, Continuous Discovery Habits, pairs that up so that you do both and think about both. And so that's a very good point. And that also comes from the business strategy, that the product strategy follows the business strategy. But it's a very good point because it has been missed in many companies. So I'm going to deep dive into each of these. So let's start with coming happy to work. So what are my principles for that? So I think happiness, and all of these interlap. I just try to get you a structure for this. So I'm going to divide it into three, but they they mishmash a bit. I think so the blue boxes will be principles. So helping the individuals develop themselves, I think that is one of the key principles. If you do that, then you can do this flock of birds, you can change direction, and you have many people who wants to try on new things, and you know where they aspire in 5 years. And I think stable, efficient teams. I'm a scout leader. I believe in the small teams, and they are strong, inclusive groups. So it's not us and them, it's us and the other teams and the organization and society and our customers. So the metrics here, and the metrics will be the orange blobs. I think you should measure if ENPS, if the people working in your companies would recommend it to a friend. I think it's a good enough kind of high level thing. And if this is on minus or really low, then you need to dive into why is that. But it's a kind of one of the key metrics to measure. And one of the methods, and that is in the rectangle, is development plans and making sure that each manager understands where is the aspiration 5 years from now for each employee. And there are a lot of methods here, but I chose one. And therefore, stable, efficient teams, I think you should measure team health in some way. And that is more, maybe you have a traffic light analysis. Maybe the engineering managers will just relay it in some discussion, but I think you should measure it and discuss it. And if many are on red, then you need to discuss it. And retrospectives is one of the most important ceremonies, I think, modern ceremonies. So the next thing, innovative, where we want to have both business and product focus and end user. Value delivery teams. And the reason I put value delivery teams here, and the difference, I think this is when you come from a project-based company or companies where you focus on output. That's a different thing than value delivery things. When you measure how many features or are all features delivered on time, that's a different thing. So the value delivery teams, they ask themselves, did we make it better? And they need to have some measurement on that. And cross-functional teams, where you have the product manager, the engineering manager, the UX person, designer, front end, when you can do everything within one, that is how quickly can we test an idea? So the measurements for this, kind of did we make it better, is outcome. You need to see what do we want to maximize and optimize. And the outcome instead of output, was this used, and make the team be held accountable for the outcome rather than if they delivered something on time that no one used. And of course, we need to cheer and celebrate when you delivered a system and done a long project. And that's a different thing. We need to be accountable for the outcome all the time. And we need to have great product managers helping us see what do we want to optimize. And we need to have a simplified business narrative so that we optimize against the right value. And one method for this is, or kind of just a small tip, is to ask teams to once a month present to all other teams how they are on their quarterly goals, kind of the outcome of the quarterly goals. And when they present graphs, and especially if maybe product managers, they have all the graphs and it becomes so many, and people sit there and clap when they're supposed to clap, but have they understood? And the reason why you want to share it is because if someone is struggling, the other teams should offer help. So I always ask teams to state the same graph as you did last time. Say, how far off are you from the quarterly outcome? Circle the main event on the graph, because it's evident to you, because you're looking at that graph all the time. No one else is doing that. And help the audience interpret it. Put an emoji there. I always ask them to put an emoji there so that they can say, are you happy about this or are you sad? And then put in clear text, is this a 5% decline, and how many users is this? Put this in clear text to help people interpret. And then I use Miro a lot, digital whiteboards. And then I ask people to put reactions to it. And if there's something to celebrate, people put cheers and then kind of sad and like hearts on there to see that people have read and understood what you're asking for. And then you can put Post-it here. We're lacking, kind of we're on red because we're lacking developers. So the second thing is, how quickly can we test an idea? Cross-functional teams. And lead time is the most important measurement here. And the other measurement is number of deployments. How often do you deploy into production? Can anyone explain what is the difference between lead time and efficient time, effective time? Mia, can you?
The lead time is how long it takes from you start
Yeah.
thinking about it until it gets shipped to the
Yeah.
users and gets used. And what did you say?
Efficient time, or yeah.
So how much work actually?
Yeah, how much work? Yeah. So because this is important, because at company, and I'm going to show you. So lead time, if you say that it's from idea to production, and this is a kind of fussy start, kind of who got the idea and where did it go? So I often ask people to divide it in two. So the idea to the actual code change, I ask them to just assess this and discuss it. And this gives us hints on, are we efficient in cross-functional teams? Or is there someone in the strategy work or in the business section of the company who orders something and try to relay it to someone in the team? And do we have waterfall single functional teams that are having handover meetings, like the designers are having handover meetings with the front-end engineers, are having handover meetings with the back-end engineers. And that gives us a long time between idea to code change. And then from code change to production, this is often very easy to measure. You know, when you push this code change, how far off are we from getting into production? And when I ask people about this, they say, well, we have 8 minutes. Everything is 8 minutes here. But then when I start talking to them, that is efficient time. Well, it takes efficient time. And then suddenly something is stopped here because you have a change control board having to accept the change, and then testing environment, a staging environment, and then there was a code freeze. So actually the lead time here is 2 weeks. The efficient time, what it could be, is 8 minutes. And you want to limit and minimize the lead time for this. Yes.
Is it production or is it to launch? Because now, in my brand, there are two different, your code can go to production, but there are certain, pre-launch, that it gets the activities that needs to be done, for the customer to start to use it.
Yeah.
Do we kind of, which one is the better measure?
End user, I would say here. But sometimes you're regulated and you can't push it directly to the end user. So make sure that you can choose to push it, but you should be able to start to make sure that you can push it as far as you can, and that then you're having a choice of doing it if it's impossible. So this one tests cross-functionality, and this one is automation, and then access and trust, I would say also, with change control, if your people are having access to production and test. So scalable, coming into that. Did we break anything? Can we add things quickly? The production awareness. So here's the DORA DevOps metrics, and you can Google that. And there are 5 of them nowadays. So how many failures do you have when you deploy something into production? Can I just take a mark, and how many times do you crash something in production? Reliability is, do we have the same, do we know that, do every developer know the graphs of response time and API, and how long time and how many users, and seeing if something declines in reliability? So this is something that you need to measure as well, and this is kind of up to each production environment. And then how long time does it take you to detect and fix a problem in production? And it's good to measure both to detection and then to fix, because sometimes it's your customers who detect a problem, and you want to have your developers detect a problem before your customers. So this is the summary of these. It's 3 questions. Did we make it better? How quickly can we test an idea? And did we break anything? And these are the metrics that I think kind of starting with these, then you have a scalable, innovative, and you can track the health of your people. The blue are the principles that I think, and then you can test different things. You can try different team setups. You can start working if you have too long lead time, if you don't have people access or they can't handle incidents. It's only 1 person or 2 persons who can handle incidents maybe. Then you need to do put people back in school. How do we throttle traffic? How do we redeploy things? And how do we do? So measure these and they will alert you on where you need to measure or discuss more. So these are the 8 top level metrics, I would say, if you want to lead change, if you want to see, are we getting to somewhere better when you're doing product-led transformation? Any reactions to this or the questions? Yes.
I kind of reacted on the outcome.
Yeah.
Is the effect
Yes.
to me.
Yeah.
And you only talk about the development team. The outcome is rarely only dependent on the development team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then measuring that towards them could be unfair because they don't really control.
No.
You need a really cross-functional with marketing and everything in the team. So what do you define as the team?
So I still define the team, even if they don't have marketing, but the team has maybe the most important stakeholders with the marketing team, if the outcome is there. But I define the team as kind of the product development team with data and so on. But I still measure them towards that overarching outcome. And then you discuss what is the reason that we didn't get the effect. And then you have a discussion on that, but measure them on the outcome, because then you need to work more closely with the stakeholders, because then you maybe don't understand or they don't understand. They need to do something else and the company needs to do something about that. So I make sure to find the outcome that is of business value. And even if it's kind of dependent on things outside their mandate, but big picture.
Just, not always are failures or, number of errors or those kind of problems. Sometimes when you have a feature, it could affect some other KPIs of the product that it shouldn't affect.
Yeah.
So you have a new feature. It seems that yes, it's working, but it reduces customer engagement for something.
Yeah.
So I think that it would be also nice to have some metrics that is important for the business and some threshold that is the okay, if this new feature have affected that's important metric that we have in that way, because then it's a failure.
So I think in that question, did we make anything better? Did we break anything? We need to ask us both on kind of production and knowing those and kind of coming back to that business narrative and understanding the ballpark figures of kind of what is important to the company and understanding if you affect something downstream or kind of another team. And that is, this one, when each team displays kind of this is what happened, you can say that this was affected by the other team's release of that feature. So kind of making everyone understand, having their heads down, focus on what they should achieve, but being aware of the others. So that's why I do this once a month, very lightweight, to kind of just say, how are we doing? Are we doing things better? And are we blocked by something? For this. So I will wrap this up. So study circles, these are my kind of go-to books. Somewhat sorted in the order I think you should read them a bit. No, so the top row is my favorites anyway, and the only one who's not a really easy read is this one, The Flow. It's like 5 books in one. What do you say, Mia, about Reinertsen? It's a bit heavy in some of the chapters. No, so yeah, but it's kind of push through and read it in your leadership, and then if people need, because some engineers need to understand why is flow important, why is lead time, why is small batch is important, and he explains the math behind it, and it's queuing theory, and it's I would say it's an easy read, but it's the others are so much more easy reads for this. So read these books and then kind of search for the 1-hour video summaries that many of these authors have, and do the study circles with your organization on these to get some traction and to hear kind of how people think that they can apply to them. So I think I've kept you now for this hour, but let's continue the discussion and more moving around a bit and have it more flexible. But thank you very much for listening to this.